The key here in this situation is to put yourself in a position where you don't get got. Hello everyone, it's Nat here, aka the Wolf of Watertown, and today we're going to be talking about how to escape and survive an economic recession. Before we get started today, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Also share this video with a friend. Now, without further ado, let's get started. So in order to really survive an economic recession, you must have yourself staged and postured in a way to avoid any potential downturn. If you're not positioned for an economic downturn, then you're risking potentially everything at any given moment. A financial crisis could be losing your job, which most people deem a job as a form of security. However, the majority of jobs, though they do display some sort of security, are not really secure. During every crisis or recession, you will see countless amounts of people lose their jobs that they felt very secure in. In a financial crisis, you can also expect a lot of people to lose about half of their retirement savings. Foreclosures are also a big thing, and where a majority of people might potentially lose their homes to the bank. Now, all of this can eventually lead to bad health and bad relationships with family members and friends. What typically happens is that a lot of people forget the bad economic situations when everything seems to be going well. However, people seldom think about all the misery that's accompanied with an economic downturn. In the case of an economic downturn, this typically provides an opportunity for those that are financially stable to create and increase wealth. When you prep for financially tough times, you can take advantage of all the opportunities that present themselves. But first, in order to understand how to survive a recession, we need to understand what exactly a recession is. A recession is a large decline in economic activity, and it lasts for more than a few months. One of the causes of a recession is inflation. This is when prices of everyday goods rise, which means that the dollar or the power of the dollar is getting weaker. The second cause of a recession is deflation. This is when prices fall and then the dollar can purchase more. And the third is high interest rates, which leads to a lot of lending problems to where everyday people can't qualify for loans, or if they did, the interest rate would be too high for them to meet the payments. Now, if you look at America today, you'll notice that we're suffering with inflation and high interest rates. Now, some of the results of this is that there is a higher rate of unemployment. There's a lack of consumer confidence. People will lose their homes due to foreclosures, and businesses go bankrupt. And what happens is all these factors combined together cause the stock market to plummet. And look at that, we're experiencing that as well. Now, when the stock market crashes and plummets, what happens is a lot of investors see this and pull out their money because they have no confidence in the market. In order to survive such an economic cycle, you need to live below your means and spend less than you earn. The gap between the money that you make and the money that you spend should all be used and invested for your future. Now, this typically doesn't happen because people fall into the trap of whenever their income increases, so do the expenses. So someone may see a raise at work, and this might equate to them getting a new car or upgrading their home. Tax returns come in, and the first thought is, hey, it's time to plan a trip. Now, when people typically hear the phrase live below your means, they think boring. However, that is not actually the case at all. Something to note is that the average millionaire has 7 different streams of income. So if your only source of income is your 9 to 5, then maybe it's time to start reevaluating a few things. With 7 sources of income, if one of these sources fails, you're still financially stable. You also have a greater chance of seeing one of these sources of income actually take off. So for the average person, you would probably want to work a 9 to 5 and then start some kind of side hustle. Let's say, for instance, you decide to start doing hair on the side. Your hairstyling gig becomes a hit and ends up being a higher paying hourly job than your actual 9 to 5. This will allow you to eventually quit your 9 to 5 job and then do hairstyling full time, where you're seeing 2 times to 3 times the amount of income you were seeing in your original 9 to 5. There's always the talk about should you pay off debt or should you invest. However, in all situations, paying off debt doesn't necessarily make sense. What does make sense is paying off debt that has a high interest rate. and then making the minimum payments on your lower interest debt. That's because in this situation, you'll see a greater return if you were to invest the money rather than pay off the debt early. If you could invest your money and see a 10% return on investment, there's no reason why you would want to pay off debt that is only 3% interest rate. However, when you have no debt, this significantly reduces your monthly expenses, eliminating credit card debt, student loans, car payments, and mortgages. By getting rid of these expenses, this puts you in a much better position for when a recession occurs. In order to put yourself in the best position for when a recession does occur, you need to make sure you're not purchasing items that you would regret later on. There are some people who make habitually large purchases. You shouldn't be spending your money on items that you won't care about a day, a week, or even a few months later. This kind of spending will have you sitting around wondering where all your money went. It will also greatly diminish your ability to properly save for retirement. On average, there is a recession every 4 years in the United States. The typical recession lasts for a year and a half. During the average bear market, the stock market drops 20%. This typically occurs every 3.5 years, and on average lasts about 9 to 10 months. During a bear market, the average stock market will drop about 35%. So just so we all understand, every 3.5 years, you can expect the stock market to drop 35%. But we also know that it tends to recover in less than 1 year. It is very unnerving to see your investments lose money, especially to that great of an extent. So that's why we decide to look at history. If you look at history and you know what to expect, it makes this whole idea of a bear market or a recession a lot more easier for you to stomach. The best way to be comfortable in such a situation is to maintain a safe amount of leverage at all times. This means that you should never borrow more money than you would be comfortable having regardless of whatever market cycle is currently occurring. Buying stocks on margin seems foolproof when the economy is good and everything is healthy. But when things take a turn for the worse, would you still consider this idea foolproof, or would you consider it that you were over leveraged at that specific point in time? Let's say, for instance, you took out a HELOC or a home equity line of credit. Now, you may be able to afford those payments now, but let's say your salary were to decrease. Would you still be able to make those monthly mortgage payments? And now what's worse is that you no longer have any equity in your home. The lower the economy is, the better for profit. Now, there's a great quote by Warren Buffett, and it goes something like this: be careful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Investors that are positioned to buy assets when they are at a discount usually reap the greatest reward for when these assets reclaim their value and reach all-time highs. And this is the general idea behind the phrase, buy low, sell high. All investors are looking to buy at the dip, which usually comes in the form of a recession or a bear market. Trying to time the market is a very difficult thing to do. However, buying stocks when they drop is pretty simple and a strategy that anyone can follow. So those are a few ways in order to make sure you're protected for the event that a recession does occur. Some experts say that we're heading towards a recession. Some say we're currently in one. Some don't think one will occur. However, studies have shown time and time again that experts do not necessarily know what they're talking about. So the best advice I can give to you is to stay ready so you never have to get ready. If you ask me, from some of the indicators that predetermine if a recession will occur, I would assume that due to the high inflation, high interest rates, that we might potentially be heading that way. Regardless of what the future holds, you're not equipped with the information in order to prepare yourself for when the market does drop or a recession does occur. You can then take advantage of that time period and build extreme and incredible wealth. That's all I got for you guys today. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel and share this video with a friend or family member and spread the word. See you next week.